Are you tired of feeling miserable? Where does misery come from? What leads to it? The answer may surprise you. Let's talk about it so we can do something about it. Beloved, you deserve peace and happiness and joy and love.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. That sounded really high. Hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. This is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell. You sound like the little kid. Never mind.
What is it?
Animated movie.
I am now my avatar. This is an AI. This is Chat ROB. Is it me or is it artificial intelligence? Well, we could debate both those words. Anyway, hi, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us. You know the drill. Please subscribe and follow us if you would. Share whatever you feel led to share and connect with us at freedhearts.org. That is the center of everything we got going on, resources and beloved adventure courses and community and all that. It's right there. So we're going to talk today about misery.
Does it love company?
I don't know. Well, no, I don't know. Does it love company? The hell does that mean? I know. You're sad people. You draw people who are sad. And that's actually a good point for this too, because, you know, if you're miserable, you tend to
congregate with misery people.
Which then makes everybody miserable. So, and I know you've seen the anger out there and the misery from other people who are mad. They're mad at you. They're mad at us. They're mad at their lives and the world. And that anger is increasingly turning to hate and rage and division. And there's no middle ground anymore. There's no public discourse anymore. But today we really want to talk about you and us. And are you feeling a little miserable? Are you tired of feeling miserable? And where does misery come from? What leads to it? Actually, it may surprise you. And what can we do about it? Because, beloved, you deserve to be happy and you deserve to be peaceful and content and joyful. Yes. And that's what our goal is, to set your heart free.
Yes.
So,
but first things first, before we get into the heavy stuff, we've been told quite a few times now through emails that I receive to make sure that Rob continues with his jokes.
It worked. I sent her those emails and she believed they were from other people.
One person who loves our comments.
No, hang on.
Okay.
I'm not sure about these jokes here because, we went out to a restaurant last night. I'll tell you a story. Out to a restaurant last night, and the hostess asked me, said, would you have reservations? And I said, no, I'm confident that I want to eat here.
But
I want to share some other good news. Are you a fan of Queen?
Yes.
I'm not a fan of many queens, but are you a fan of Queen?
Yes.
You Freddie Mercury? That film, A Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes.
It was an amazing movie.
I know the song.
I found a free stream of that. No subscription. The free stream of that movie.
Yeah.
But I think that it's filmed by someone sitting like in the front row of the theater. Okay. Like at the screen, because I can't really make out what's going on. All I see is a little silhouette of a man. So, no jokes. I just wanted to share that with you. Clearly, no jokes. Well,
okay.
All right.
Thank you for the jokes. Well, one person wrote us and said, and they love our podcast, as she said. And she said, sometimes his jokes are the only thing that keep me from crying through the whole episode.
That's so sweet.
I know. But
it's okay to cry sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you need to cry, and that's great. But also joy is also great. And so, being joyful is awesome. So in a roundabout way, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, good segue.
Thank you. So I was listening to a couple talk about their trans daughter and how she was miserable because of the church's requirements of them. Oh. And then after they came out, the whole family was made miserable by the church's requirements of them.
Yeah. And I even want to kind of expand for a moment on that word, because the church's requirement sounds reasonable, but we're not just talking about something simple. We're talking about these things to do or not to do that are not based in anything to do with God or Jesus. We're talking about random, arbitrary rules and behavior that the church has set up because it threatens their teachings or their power or whatever, their control. And these are the kind of requirements that we're talking about here.
Yes.
They're oppressive. And the overall message is, you're broken. You need to do this different and fix yourself.
Yeah.
And the impact of this, we got an email from a young youth, 14, 15 years old recently, or a YouTube comment, I think. And they said that they were doing fine in life. They were happy. And then a pastor, a youth leader, said one thing. And he said, made one comment about something. And he said, my life was ruined.
Yeah, it just went right into their brain.
And
into their heart.
Took them 7 years to recover from that one comment. They were miserable for 7 years. And I just...
heartbreaking. And you don't want to give that power to people, and if you're in a power position like that, you don't want to do that to people. You shouldn't want to do that to people.
So miserable.
So I was intrigued by that word miserable recently, actually. And I thought, how is that connected to the word miser? And, isn't a miser someone who's also miserable?
Mm.
And so you just think Scrooge, right? Or anyone who is scarcity minded. They're miserable.
Yeah.
Whether they're scarcity minded about money or love or approval or status or any way that can make you feel scarce, makes you feel miserable.
Mm. That example of Scrooge is a great thing, because we just came through the holiday time, and you may have seen the Christmas Carol on, but that, he had his own business, he had wealth, but he was scarce. He had a mindset of scarcity in everything.
Yep.
In how much money he gave to others in need, and how much money he gave to himself for the comforts of life. He was scarce in his kindness and everything, and he was miserable.
Miserable. He made everyone around him miserable, and he was miserable.
Mm.
So, I looked them up. I looked the words up, and they do come from the word. They both come from the word wretched.
Really?
Yeah. Which, if you say, oh, he's wretched, and even in that Christmas Carol, it's like, oh, he's wretched. That means, what it means is banished. That's what the word wretched comes from. So someone who is wretched, or a wretch, is someone who's been banished.
Wow. So miserable is connected to being banished.
Yes.
That makes so much sense. We need community, right?
We need community.
Designed,
it's built into us.
It's designed into us. So if a person has been banished, who has been banished is wretched. They're miserable.
Yes.
Because we're meant to live in community of goodwill, not banished off in isolation because of who we love or supporting someone we love.
Yes, yes. And the other part that I didn't notice until this, that part was huge, but then also the one who banishes them is also miserable.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not, and I'm not talking about miserly just with money, but it's with forgiveness, with understanding, with joy, with their grace that's been given to them. And, their flow of God's love, if you want to use those terms, they can't take any more of God's love in because their cup's full, because they're not giving it out. And so both parties...
Well, that's funny. Their cup is full. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But they perceive it as empty.
Yes.
They actually kind of believe their cup is empty.
Yeah, like Scrooge had all the money he could ever need, but he perceived it as he didn't have enough.
Right.
Yeah. Which a lot of billionaires are today that way.
Yeah.
So both parties are wretched. The banished and the banisher, both parties are banished, really. And when you're miserly with love and grace, then you're isolated as well, because you're cutting yourself off from so much of the humanity that is built into us.
Yeah. Why would you, and we have talked about this in a variety of ways, but the reason that you are not generous, part of the reason you're not generous with your money is because you're afraid you don't have enough.
Yes.
And so why would you So let's take this to the natural conversation. Why would you hesitate sharing God's love?
Yeah.
Because you don't feel like you have enough.
Yes.
You don't know how perfectly imperfect and wonderful you are, how not broken you are, you know, and
if it's on a scale, a measurement scale, there has to be somebody underneath you. And so you've got to be sure of that. Because, you know, if you're the bottom rung, you might slip into hell, so to speak. That's kind of, do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow.
So you keep oppressing people. So, and of course, the opposite of that is that people who are generous in all of those same ways are full of joy. They're full of joy. And you are a case in point, Rob.
Oh.
I've never met a person who's more generous than you. And you taught me to be generous much more than I ever thought I could be. I think it was always in my heart, but I didn't know it until you and your constancy in all of that unraveled those early years of scarcity from my dad that I grew up with, the scarcity mindset. And it was so deeply conditioned into me. But just watching you unraveled it.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I've always felt like, you know, I know kind of the common thinking, especially when it's media and advertising and trying is we need to buy this or take this or do this in order to be happy or in order to keep up with the neighbors next door. And if we don't get it, then we're going to be unhappy and it could all be taken away. And we've talked, I mean, our parents are both Depression era parents. So our parents were raised from having lost everything or going through that. So the message that they conveyed to us primarily is that it can all be gone in a heartbeat. And okay, maybe it can, but I'm not going to live that way.
Right.
And I'm not of the belief that there's this one size of pie. And if someone gets a piece of pie, they somehow take my piece away. I think the pie's unlimited.
Yeah. Well, just a case in point. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, please, go ahead.
We were on the streets of New York with the kids. We took a trip a long time ago there. And there was a vendor selling jewelry, a unique thing she had made. And I wanted something. And you got it. And you paid her more than she was asking. It was like $15 or something. And you gave her $20, something like that. And I mean, who does that? Who does that? Most people say, can you do it for 10? You know, do you increase your joy and the joy around you by doing that? And I'm not saying that just to build you up right here, right now.
No, go ahead, please.
So you deserve it. But for people listening, I want to paint the picture of the opposite of misery is really community and generosity of spirit and knowing there's enough to go around.
There's enough to go around. That's right.
Yeah,
it's not
I encourage
scarcity.
People all the time because it's just natural from me because it never takes it away from me. I'm not going to be less if I tell you how great you are. And so why wouldn't I? It makes me better, not less.
Well, let's look at that scenario for a minute. So we're walking along and we see something that we want to buy and it's $15. So we haggle and bargain down and we offer and we settle at 10. And so we get the thing and we walk away. Okay. We kind of have a bad feeling. Like our feeling is did we take advantage of a person? Are they okay? Could we have gotten it for less?
Right.
You know, what's it really worth? And the person who sold it to us think, what assholes?
Yeah.
You know,
Jeez,
it just,
I can't even charge $15
can't even make
without
a living. I've got to lower myself to this kind of stuff versus they're asking 15. So you either pay 15 because that's what we're asking, or you pay more. So we paid 20 and we walked away. Now, not that this is self-serving, but that item now is a story that we're telling today.
Right.
You know, we feel great about ourselves.
Right.
And that person is like, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, what a cool in a day that may have been filled with New
Yorkers.
Or, crappy people trying to get over on this vendor who's just trying to survive.
Right.
this could have been just a thing that gave them some joy. So everybody, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
And even if you save $5, it's a lose-lose, really.
Yeah.
And the only reason you would not be generous is if you don't feel full. Either you feel like you have enough money, so I'll give. And whether that, again, that's kind of a tricky thing about money, because money is weird and you need to pay your bills and things like that. But hanging on to it is not the answer. It's just not the answer. I mean, you have to be wise and be smart, but be generous. Be generous. It does come back to you, you know.
You let the flow come.
Yeah. Or with your time, or with love or acceptance. You don't accept other people because you don't feel accepted. You don't love other people because you don't really feel loved.
Yeah. There are 2 Bible verses that talk about this. And one is that God loves a cheerful giver. A cheerful giver. Not just a curmudgeonly giver, a cheerful giver. What a great thing that is. And the other one is give until you're laughing. Like, have so much joy in your giving. I wish I had the exact words. That you give until you're laughing about it. That's how joyful it is. And I think, gosh, the only time giving really is taught at the church of this type that we usually talk about is when you're giving to the building fund or whatever, when you're giving to the church.
And that feels like an obligation.
Yeah, and it is.
It's a requirement, which is which is the word we use at the beginning of this, is a church requirement.
Yeah, instead of, give to those around you, especially at Christmas. Why aren't we giving way, way more to those around us who could really use it? To
not do that and all this, it brings misery. It makes us miserable.
Bring misery. And all the miserliness of that, you think you'll get more out of it, that if you hold on to it, you'll have more. But it's not true. It gives you less because you can't even enjoy what you have. And you really are stopping the flow of more coming through. That's how, a river moves, is by flow, not by, when it's stagnant, it becomes toxic.
And in that scenario, I would have had $5 extra in my pocket plus the item. But as we said, my heart walking away from that is not joyful.
Yeah. And if you have somebody generous in your life, follow them around. Learn what it is to be generous with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Time, love, energy.
And it's not the amount of money that makes you generous, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of huge billionaires. We have billionaires. And they're notoriously stingy and curmudgeonly. Do they not have enough? Do they not have enough to, they could relieve college debt for everyone and not even feel it. And yet they can't do it because it's all in their heads. It's all a mindset. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, it is kind of simple in that when you feel fully loved, it frees your heart to love. When you feel wealthy, regardless of the logistics of your circumstances, it frees your heart to be generous. When you feel, that you have been treated kindly or heard, it makes you, it helps free your heart to hear others. So I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to encourage you to step back a bit and maybe don't try to gain approval from people who are miserable in their approval. You know what I mean?
That's really good. Because you're not gonna get it.
Yeah. Don't let stingy, miserable, miserly people tell you what to do. Don't model after what they're doing and tell you what you do and don't deserve because they're wrong, beloved.
There's the story of Lincoln who freed a slave. He had emancipated the slaves, but there was a man he before that, I think, that Lincoln bought his freedom, and the slave said, "You mean I'm free?" It just makes me want to cry. Mm-hmm. And Lincoln said, yes, you're free. And he said, "I can do anything, go anywhere?" "Yes." "Well, then I'm sticking with you." I mean, you gave me that freedom. Where else would I want to go than sticking with you? And, find the people who have given you freedom and stick with them.
Yeah.
And continue to pour it out to others.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Listen to people who are generous in approval and kindness and love. You'll be drawn to because they're full of joy.
Yes.
You don't need, beloved, you don't need to sort it out in your heads here. Sometimes we can get lost in whether you should or shouldn't, or the reasoning or logistics, but don't, be kind, be generous, be loving, go to what you're drawn to. A child knows who they prefer, and they'll go to the one who's joyful,
yes.
And that's why we're drawn to people who are smiling, instead of looking like they hate everyone and everything. I do that. I try to be kind to people, like in coffee shops, and smile and make silly comments, and not just silly, but affirming comments, and comment on something they're wearing or their hair or whatever. And I can kind of see it in their face sometimes that they just, wow, I needed that.
Lights out.
I've not heard anything but the opposite of that all day long.
And according to the emails you've gotten, you could even tell more jokes.
What? No. Okay, got another joke. There was a priest. No, I'm kidding. More jokes to come. I can't spend them all in one episode.
Okay.
All
okay.
Right, thank you. Beloved.
You have plenty.
Beloved, hear me now. You are loved. You are not broken. You are complete and worthy and full and rich in spirit and rich in your life, and you are wonderful, and go live that way. That's what you deserve. That will bring more happiness than you could ever imagine to you and to everybody around you. You'll be this light that's drawing people in, and that's just awesome. That's what you deserve, and go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those around you deserve the best of you, the most you have to offer.
Absolutely.
In that way.
Any other message about you that's not that is a lie. Don't believe that.
It's a miserly message.
It's a miserly message. Don't let it make you miserable.
Bah humbug.
Bah humbug. Talk to you next time.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at heysaintsinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.